God bless you, brethren. I'm Sister Esther, as usual, bringing to you a message, and I'm not going to tell you the title of the message. Probably as we continue moving on, you will have to identify the title of the message. Straight away, I will go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 8 to 10, and also chapter 11 as well. We are talking about a guy called Nimrod. Nimrod was a grandson of Abraham. You remember Abraham had sons, and some of them are Isaac, there is Ham, and then after that, Abraham, after giving birth to Ham gave birth to Cush, and Cush gave birth to Nimrod, who became a very great king, that he was equating himself to be king, He wanted to be God, actually, not even king, God, by building a Tower of Babel. He was a strategist, he was a builder, he was a hunter, and after he wanted, he gathered everyone such that they can build a tower that will reach heaven, equating himself to God, and they would worship. They know that they were so clever, and by that time they were speaking the same language. From these stories, it tells why all of us are speaking different languages. Why? Because God, after realizing that these people are becoming too much on him, he separated all of us, and everyone started to speak his own language until that Tower of Babel was demolished by Alexander the Great. Having based on that, it talks about how Babel went ahead in Nineveh. Nineveh, this is now the current Iraq, because it is surrounded by the Mosul city in Iraq. And after that, he started to he had a lot of ships, and as he was moving on the waters, they got in touch with a female goddess who was called Semiramis, and they became so much great, after discovering all those cities. Remember, Ham, the descendants of Ham, the descendants of Nimrod, took over Egypt, Sodom, Gomorrah, etc. And you know what happened with Sodom and Gomorrah. Now you're trying to see how rebellious Nimrod was, like that all the descendants of whatever cities had to go to, where the cities were being under the wrath of God. Yes, so as we continue, this Semiramis was so great a goddess, a female goddess, that even other cities like in Armenia, some buildings until now are still having her name. Like there is one in Armenia called Shemira Magat, meaning built by Semiramis. Now, as we continue, you'll read in the book of Revelation 17 and Revelation 18, which talks about the great whore and the beast. These are the people who were really still following this woman. And having followed that woman, she became so much with the husband, who is Nimrod. She became so much strong that they had to conquer every kind of the world, including right now, because Revelation is 17 and 18 talks about how the whole earth was being managed by these two people. Having gotten rebellious before God, they had to conquer now the world. How? After being worshipped and praised, people did not end on that. They had to form images in worship of them. This takes me to how other gods, other cities like in Egypt, Greece, Hindu, and everywhere, they had to form their gods who are like in the similar attire of this Semiramis and Nimrod. So when Nimrod died, Semiramis had to get someone who could be like Tamuzzi, like the husband. And that is when she had to form an image of someone called Tamuzzi. Now, Tamuzzi, this is so, so great and interesting. And I hope you will follow me, So, all the goddess, all the people in other cities had to fall under this Semiramis, because now she had to take over the power of Nimrod. And she started to be strategic and conquering everyone. So they all had to fall below, to bow before her, and they became one. So they started to worship a feminine goddess with who they say, that is history. If you want to know more, you can ask the Museum of Israel and, inquire the history of Israel, the great city. So after having known that she wanted not to be a widow, she said she's not a widow. She had to form another image that they say that it was incarnated through the rays of the sun of the husband. And that is when we see her carrying a baby that they say that she was impregnated by the husband or the rays of the sun. It brings us to the worship of the sun, the stars, and the moon. It's because the rays of the sun had to impregnate this woman, and she gave birth to a baby whom she's carrying, and who is referred to as Tamuzzi. Tamuzzi, you can find Tamuzzi in the book of Ezekiel 8, chapter 13 to 18, when the Lord spoke with Ezekiel and took him in a dream, in the spirit, that he had to show him a lot of disguising and detestable issues that the people of Jerusalem were doing as pertains idolatry. Now you can read with me Ezekiel 8, verse 14. It says, "So he took me to the north gate of the temple and showed me women weeping over death of god Tamuzzi." So after dying, he was molded into monuments and images, but they were still weeping over his death. And in verse 15 of Ezekiel 8, he took me to the inner courtyard of the temple, near the entrance of the sanctuary, between the altar and the porch, where about 25 men were bowing low towards the east and worshipping the rising sun. Remember, he said he took me to the temple gate, meaning to say that, the temple is a place to worship God. Same like the church now, other people have shrines in form of worshiping God, not shrines for witches, but the temple is referred to as a place to worship God. But here we are, that people were bowing, worshipping the rising sun, the moon, and the stars. Mark this, that the worship we are talking about, the mistakes and the sins we are now performing, are not supposed to be done in the shrines or by the witch doctors. It is also in the church today. It is also in the church today. This thing was done in the temple. Therefore, it is done in the temple as of now. Let us not blame only those ones who visit the shrines. We have to blame ourselves as well, because even when we are in the churches, still we are worshipping these gods that we may not be knowing. That's why Hosea 4:6, remember, says, "My people perish, my people are destroyed, my people are doomed because they lack knowledge." It is not supposed to be done out of the church. No, it is inside the church. We have devil worshippers in the church. We have Antichrist in the church. What is it going to happen after that? Read with me in the book of Jeremiah, but I'm going to stop this video because it may not download with the people with MBs. So let me stop on this and then we continue from there. As of now, I love you so much.